close to 2,000 brands covering more than 20 different products. That's how much this one company has dominated the shelves of supermarkets and households the world over for the last 147 years. In Singapore, Nestle is the name many have grown up with. It may be well known here, but this Centennial is actually a Swiss multinational giant. As the largest food company in the world, its revenue is estimated at $100 billion, with 31 brands earning over $1 billion every year. Its operations span nearly 200 countries, with 468 factories and over 300,000 employees. While it has expanded far and wide over the years, the values it upholds continues to be the very ones embodied by its founder, Henri Nestle. Pragmatism, flexibility, and a willingness to learn. These have all stood the test of time. Nestle was formed in 1905, the result of a merger between rivals Anglo-Swiss Milk Company and Nestle. But the seeds of its origin go back nearly 40 years before, to 1867, when a uniquely created product, a combination of cow's milk, wheat flour and sugar, was launched in Switzerland. Henri Nestle's creation was Farine Lactée, the company's first infant food product.
Well, at that time, when Farine Lactée was invented, there was a high mortality rate for newborn kids, around 15–25% across Europe. So Henri Nestle was a pharmacist, a German pharmacist, invented the Farine Lactée, which was addressing exactly that need, in order that you could overcome the malnutrition of kids through a complete solution. And this has basically become the cornerstone of our nutrition element, which is so close to our heart.
The ability to see an opportunity in challenging situations not only gave Nestle its start, it would later become the bedrock of this Centennial's business. And from the start, it was not content to remain a Swiss-bound company. Henri Nestle himself was an immigrant from Germany, and he saw the whole world as his true market. In that spirit of expansion, the Centennial began its Singapore operations in 1912.
Singapore, along with other countries in the region like Malaysia, Philippines, India, were part of this expansion. Clearly, Singapore, for its geographical location, has always been strategic for us as a company. In fact, this is the first place we created the first R&D center, called East Reco at that time, in 1980.
It is through its R&D that Nestle has been able to develop different products. One, in particular, introduced this part of the world to a whole new way of feeding their babies. And it came in a handy little can. From the onset, the condensed milk was tremendously popular with the consumers of Singapore. This veteran Nestle Singapore employee of 50 years recalls just how much.
They also use the milk as a morning drink because in the early days, powder milk is not the norm. So basically, milk was then the very norm for babies and for children.
Then came World War I. The global unrest made it difficult to get raw materials and distribute its products. But instead of crumbling under the chaos, Nestle turned adversity into opportunity once more.
The shortage of milk, and the US government entrusted Nestle to find a solution to this type of need, which was in the form of, obviously, milk powder. And we doubled the business through that type of opportunity that came out of that issue.
Nestle ended up purchasing several existing factories in the United States, and by the end of the war, had 40 factories worldwide and a 100% increase in its production. Mining opportunities from difficulties. That would continue to be this Centennial's strategy for growth.
Well, you know, after the First World War, things changed, and changed also for us as a company. In 1921, we had the first loss of the company. And this was very basically because the consumer needs changed. So we moved from condensed and powder milk. People started again going back to fresh milk.
For the first time, Nestle products were losing their appeal. Government demand for powdered milk dried up, and people reverted to drinking fresh milk. To rise above this waning interest in its milk products and the deep economic woes of the 1920s, Nestle diversified into the chocolate business. It acquired Peter K. Quayler's Swiss chocolate company. The acquisition gave the company a new and very important product that sparked further variations like this.
Milo came out of a need. After the Great Depression, children were malnourished. They had really issues of eating healthy stuff. And Mr. Main, one of our engineers, invented a product made by milk and combining milk and cocoa, and the name is Milo. And Milo is after the Greek god, which obviously represents strength, right, and energy. This product was launched in Sydney in 1934. It was a big success because basically, again, was addressing a need for people and was overcoming an issue of malnutrition and was addressing exactly those elements.
Milo quickly became a raging success, expanding beyond Australia to make it big in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. In Singapore, Milo was a hot item amongst the officers of the British naval base stationed in the country from the late 1930s to 1971.
They also have staff staying inside the naval base. On that basis, they need to have supply to the staff. During that period, if they are consuming a couple of cases, quite a number of cases of Milo, I believe that was the most popular.
Just as things were turning around for Nestle, World War II erupted. Profits fell from $20 million in 1938 to just $6 million the next year. Again, instead of bunkering down, it learned from its previous war experience. It drew on its strength in R&D and diversified into relatively untested waters. Leveraging an unexpected surplus in the American economy, it gave millions a new morning ritual, Nescafe.
The American government had a huge amount of Brazilian coffee beans in stock, and they didn't know what to do because obviously coffee beans after some time deteriorate. So again, they came to us, Nestle, and said, could you make soluble coffee out of these coffee beans? And it happened by chance that we were already working on this type of project. So in 1938, out of this type of request, and also because we were forward-looking and we were already working on this project, Nescafe was born. And then you know the success of Nescafe because Nescafe became also a very important moment of relief for the American troops because we were serving coffee through Nescafe to the US troops. And that's the beginning of the Nescafe brand.
Since its inception, Nestle has been about providing for the nutritional and nourishment needs of the world by turning adversity into opportunity. But the world that would emerge from World War II would prove to be a markedly different one. And with that came new challenges the company had to face. Until World War II, Nestle's expansions had not strayed beyond its original dairy and drinks products. But the world in the 1940s was changing, and Nestle also had to keep pace with the changes to stay ahead. In 1947, it acquired Fabrique de Produits Maggi SA and its holding company, Alimentana SA of Chemtai, Switzerland. A mouthful of a name we have come to know simply as Maggi. Bringing Maggi into the Nestle family was a new approach to an old business plan of diversification, where once the Centennial developed its own products, now it was looking into acquisitions as a means of expansion and growing its markets. A new world had emerged after the war, and the company developed a new response to the changes.
The women were starting working a lot outside of their home at that time in Switzerland, and therefore the need to prepare something which, from a culinary point of view, could be very fast and tasty.
Despite being launched first in Europe with instant soups, it was Asia that really embraced Maggi, partly due to the fact that Nestle successfully adapted the noodles to local tastes.
A noodle is not the same noodle you have here in Malaysia or in Singapore than the one you have in India. The consumers here like noodles which are bitey, crunchy, and gives you a little bit of a flavor enhancement when you eat it. In India, they like it soggy. You need to also combine it with the flavor that goes with it. And our curry Maggi noodles is the #1 selling noodle here in Singapore, thanks to the work we do.
That kind of understanding of local markets does not come easily. Marcus Froelich should know. He's in charge of market research.
So we go into the markets, live with them, breathe with them, make sure that we understand what they are doing, what they like.
Once a product is in development, consumers are consulted yet again.
In our sensory lab, we make sure that we meet the local taste. So we invite consumers, they come, taste, and tell us whether we meet the taste, what they like. You also saw that we also then did a statistical analysis of the results, and this tells us which recipe is actually preferred by the consumer.
This Centennial has more than 30 such research, development and technology facilities throughout the world, and the largest R&D network of any food company. Its R&D center in Singapore opened in 1982 and has since received numerous recognitions both in Singapore and abroad.
We have 18 nationalities employed here in the centers, and which is great because people come from countries, they know the local habits, and they can also include their know-how into the development of products. So we are in one of our development kitchens where we develop recipes adjusted to the local taste.
So I'm doing now is a basic tom yum soup. Alright, it's getting from the immersion from Thailand, Bangkok. So what is done basically is about a fresh ingredient, about lemongrass, galanga, alright, chili padi, and also the lime leaf to make a simple tom yum taste, tom yum soup.
At this R&D facility, they even grow their own herbs to try out different recipes, ensuring that they work only with the freshest and best ingredients. This kind of sensitivity to consumer demands was how Nestle was able to develop a product like Coffee Viet, specially for its Vietnamese market.
So we noticed when we went there that people actually brew the coffee together with soya beans, which is a practice which we do not know anywhere else. What we did, we took this idea, went into our factories and adjusted our brewing process. And the result was we can provide a coffee with the same characteristics, which is available in an instant.
To maintain its competitive edge in the different global markets, even when it produces the same product, this Centennial customizes the recipe right down to the last detail.
Singaporeans in the white coffee range prefer much more creaminess than coffeeness. In Australia, where coffeeness has a bigger appeal, you need to tone down the coffeeness and maybe some elements of sugar and tone up the coffee.
With increased emphasis on living and eating healthily, Nestle has also used R&D to improve the nutritional value of its products in order to meet evolving consumer needs.
But as far as nutrition is concerned, what they try to do now is to reduce the fat, reduce sugar, reduce salt, but still at the same time maintaining the taste of the product.
As the Centennial approached a new millennia, the business saw an opportunity to increase its product mix by catering to an entirely new consumer group. Today, pet care products account for more than 10% of the company's annual sales.
Households becoming smaller and smaller, an aging population, the need of company, the social need of company for people is becoming higher. Therefore, elderly people treat pets as kids. It's an extension of a kid, if you want, in one way or another. So it's a huge opportunity, particularly in Europe, as well as in US and in Latin America, and it's becoming more and more, as you see also here in Singapore.
Localize, customize, diversify. Whatever this Centennial's strategies for growth going into its 100th year and beyond, What helps it keep its various brands and products together is a common identity.
We have a concept called Building the Brands the Nestle Way, which is a common platform we use across the world, so we don't lose the brand property, but the brand is like the personality of our products, is the way we appear, the way we are. This is really quite critical.
In its early evolution, Nestle turned setbacks into business advancing opportunities. Then, as the world changed, R&D and diversification became its business strategies. But even as it surged forward to develop and grow its business, Nestle also took time to develop and grow its own people. When we return, see how Nestle featured in the earliest of fires that broke out in Tiong Bahru, Singapore in 1934. Like many who work in Nestle, Joseph Tan is a long-serving employee. He has been with the company for over 50 years. He attributes his loyalty to the company's willingness to allow him to challenge new boundaries.
I find that the sales job quite interesting, so I check with the MDC whether there's any opportunity for us to be given a chance to work in a different department. He said, sure, everybody is given equal opportunity. Then I went over to join the sales department.
This freedom to explore is a common experience many other employees enjoyed.
I started off as a factory engineer, so I was given much freedom to do what I think is best for the company. So I was able to progress through the career ladder, and I can see that Nestle is a company that really looks after its people.
Audrey Liao benefited firsthand from the company's gender diversity policy. This encouraged her to stay with the Centennial for more than a quarter of a century.
I started at Nestle Singapore as a brand executive in infant nutrition, and over the last 25 years I've done many marketing roles, but mainly in nutrition. In the late 90s, I was working in Switzerland, our head office, and then to China for nutrition as well. In 2001, I was the first Singaporean to be appointed as Managing Director of Nestle Singapore.
Are you sure this is high? When you join Nestle, we like to think that you join Nestle for somehow your life. Because we are such a big organization that we have so many opportunities. If people are willing to move around our company, take me, I've been working probably in more than 12, 15 countries. So you can really move across the organization if you show you have capability. I think what's important for our people also to understand that you need to keep on learning. We are a learning organization because you need to adapt yourself also to different cultures.
The Centennial's commitment to long-term relationships extends beyond its employees. In Singapore, Sim Mya Sing Private Limited has been a distributor of Nestle products for over 60 years, supplying to major retailers like Metro and Isetan, as well as provision shops island-wide. Just as this Centennial looks out for its stakeholders and staff, it looks out for the rest of the world as well. In Singapore, long before CSR became a buzzword, Nestle was already doing its part for the local community. In 1934, it donated milk supplies to support the victims of a fire that swept through Bukit Ho Swee, Tiong Bahru and Havelock Road and left 5,000 people homeless. Nestle also sponsored sporting events, fulfilling the twin purposes of supporting nutrition and building its breakfast foods business.
And all this iconically is expressed through our Milo van that's always present in either schools, sports events, and it's very iconic. I think every Singaporean had a chance to have a sip with a Milo cup out of the Milo van.
Nestle is also committed to sustainable agriculture. Since 2001, it has been party to several initiatives that seek to ensure that farmers are taught to farm in such a manner that doesn't damage the environment, like the Sustainable Agriculture Initiative and the Cocoa Plan. By this year, 80% of Nespresso's coffee will have come from Rainforest Alliance certified farms.
The best expression to say this and I'll try to say it with the correct Chinese words, it's Wei Qi, which means sudden danger, hidden opportunity. We've seen through the history of the company, we've always been able to look at what was happening around us, understand the context, and then react to it in a positive manner, in a constructive manner, and many times anticipating things. I strongly believe that if you create a culture of innovation, which we always have had, and you nurture it more with the modern technology, the modern times, and particularly you making use of this connectivity, the social elements that we have access to with the internet, I think we will succeed, not only for 100 years, for more than another 100 years.
And this sentiment isn't just one felt by the management. Nestle staff is equally committed to and confident of the company's longevity.
Everybody's on Facebook, social media, etc. And we are also now trying to see how we can exploit this trend to sort of leverage this and sort of communicate this, use this platform to communicate better to the consumers, drive our brands top of mind with these consumers, as well as to drive them to our operators' premises so that we work on growing the business together.
Nestle has been good at what it is doing now, so it has been focusing on consumers, providing them the best value for the product they buy, and then doing sufficient research to know what are their needs and producing product to meet their needs. I think if Nestle continue to do that and even more, it will be able to sustain for the next 100 years or more.